All right, baby. We are live. I am so freaking excited for today to spend some time with Sweet Tea Fowler and Jeff Ulrich. We've been talking about the miracle of childbirth off camera. We're going to do our best to steer clear of that conversation over the next 40 minutes or so. Gentlemen, how are we feeling, man? We got 4 more sleeps until the Super Bowl. We got 1 more sleep until the Wasted Management Open. I am extremely excited for this, Jeff.
Buddy, I just read the most insane Louis Oosthuizen stat, which we're going to have to get to later in the show. But I am very excited. This is this Sunday is, obviously it's a big sporting event week and it's the Super Bowl and everyone. But when you're into golf as well, this is the Super Bowl. This is it, man. Because the Waste Management Phoenix Open, whatever it's called now, WM Phoenix Open, I don't know. It's one of the best events of the year. It's exciting. Things change so much down the stretch. There's water in play. It's always a good field, and it's just a fun event. So, we got the golf betting ending as the Super Bowl comes up, and then the Super Bowl. So it's this Sunday it's like the pinnacle.
I love it. This Sunday is fantastic. Every year, Reed. We just plan on sitting on our couch. Everyone's like, "Yeah, I can't wait to watch the Super Bowl and eat food." But all 3 of us were texting yesterday. And we were kind of more excited to watch. What happened, what goes down in Phoenix.
Yeah, because if you're a team, right? If you like a team and they're not in, then it's more of the fanfare of the Super Bowl, right? It's the prop bets. It's the game itself is fine, but if you're a golf fan specifically, right, there's the majors, then probably the WGCs in terms of strength of field and maybe appeal to some fans. But then it's the Genesis, Riviera, Pebble Beach is fun because it looks nice, not necessarily because the rounds are super long and you don't want to see amateurs shank it everywhere. But this is up there. I would argue that this one, and Rahm has mentioned it too, outside of the majors and some other courses and tournaments, he wants to win this tournament specifically. So when you got the number 1 player in the world saying, I want to win this specifically because it's in his backyard, he went to ASU. That's something that you have to recognize. And good on the tour, or good on Waste Management or WM and TPC Scottsdale for making this a circle on the schedule for fans and players, because it is great. And Jeff mentioned it too. Towards the end, this is a great closing 9. TPC Scottsdale is number 4 on the season last year of balls in the water at 240. So it's TPC Twin Cities, Sawgrass, PGA National. So 2 of those are in Florida. And then
I was going to guess PGA National with the bear trap.
Yeah, so that makes for a lot. The par 3 is great, but that par 4 17th is fantastic. That's where Brooks eagled to seal the deal. So this is a great tournament. But and what we see a lot too is if you win this tournament, if you pick someone who's the outright winner, now you got more money to bet on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's no question the loudest venue, right, in golf. And you mentioned how Rahm, when you have the best player in the world saying, I want to win this tournament, it's no surprise to me that he is the favorite to win it. And then there's also a few guys, right, who are going to be making their debut there this week. I think this is Cantlay's first time at this tournament. How do you expect? I think, Jeff, it takes a different. I don't know. You see some guys who tee it up here and then maybe not return for a little while. You see some who love this tournament, who embrace this crazy atmosphere, which this year it's going to be even wilder because last year there was only about 5,000 fans allowed in. There's usually 3 or 4 times that amount just on 16 alone. So what do you think? It takes a different golfer, right? To be able to succeed here and embrace what this crowd brings, because it's wild.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There are definitely some guys I think who just don't necessarily love it. And then there are some guys who just, it's just a staple on their schedule every year. I think most players get behind it. I don't think there's that many players who are I'm not playing the Waste Management Phoenix Open, thumb my nose at it. How dare you make noise during my swing? I think there's very few players like that. I'm sure there's a couple guys that just avoid this for that reason, but I think for the most part, the players like it. I mean, it's just a little bit different. And you're right. Some players are definitely going to, embrace it a little bit more. The funny part is the guy who's done the best here is Hideki. And you think of Hideki, you don't think about that. Like, he's not the guy who's like pumping his fist and like throwing stuff to the crowd. He's just like, maybe just because he doesn't like understand English that well, and he doesn't understand, like, he just ignores it better. I don't know. Like, maybe there is something behind that, right? But he's just embraced it for whatever reason. So it's kind of cool to see like all different styles of players. It doesn't have to be the rah-rah guys here. I think even like the more kind of, I don't want to call them robotic, but the more sort of mechanical players like a Hideki, they like it too. So I think it's a unique atmosphere, but all different kinds of players have done well here, just in terms of like embracing the tournament. And you see that again this year with the big field. I'm surprised too. I am surprised this is Cantlay's first trip, since that was like the main thing we were talking about. I'm sure he'll be fine, but it'll be interesting to see how he does.
I mean, Reed Matsuyama, he's won here. He leads the field in scoring average at TPC Scottsdale. He's claimed 3 trophies in like the last 10 months. Jeff, it wouldn't shock me if, because he doesn't speak English like as strong as like maybe some of the other golfers, like he really does just like kind of tune out like the noise.
It could be. I mean, I don't know. I again, whatever reason, Hideki has really found a home here. So I think it's just more he just likes the course, and he's probably just good at tuning out that stuff anyways. I think it's actually an interesting comparison, Hideki and Cantlay. This is the first time in like years where we've seen Hideki with lower odds and Patrick Cantlay. And I wouldn't really, I think they're kind of both good bets. Like if you're going to the top of the board and you pick those two guys, I think that's pretty solid. I would actually side with Hideki, if I'm being dead honest though, for this event. I think that it does take a little bit of getting used to, at least. That's not exactly in Cantlay's favor. And look, I mean, Cantlay, he's looked good in spurts, but his iron game hasn't been near as sharp as Matsuyama's. And now he's coming in with like the lesser experience factor. So I don't even mind Hideki at slightly shorter odds.
Okay. Reed, what do you think about that when you kind of compare like those two? Because I can't stop thinking about like the 3-wood that Hideki hit, to end the Sony Open playoff. Like that was so nasty, but
ruined my life. Thanks for bringing it up, by the way.
Yeah. No problem. You feel free
to
bring up
over it like yesterday.
Feel free to bring up Luke List anytime you want. But Patrick Cantlay, 3 starts for him in 2022. Reed, 3 top 10s. The dude, looking at his scores here, he is 97 under in his last 5 tournaments. Like he's itching for a win. No, it's damn good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Look, any one of these guys, we talk about this ad nauseum, that you take the top, maybe we'd say like 15 guys, maybe sans Russell Henley, maybe the top 10, right? Like in this tournament specifically right now, like the margins are razor thin for these guys of who is going to play better that day. Clearly there's guys like, a JT who's playing great, Rahm and look, Rahm and Cantlay played bad, right? Considering, and they both finished in the top 4 respectively in their tournaments. So it's like their bad is top 5, not winning. And when you have that type of moniker, then you're still playing fairly well. And when you talk about Hideki Matsuyama, that was, someone that I particularly bet on, Jeff. Thank you very much. So it did not ruin my life, made my life fantastic. And then obviously that the next handful of tournaments transpired to bring me back down to earth. But look, Hideki, why I think he does so well here too is that with his putting style of being fairly, like I would say, aggressive in nature, I think it helps him a lot here, right? Because these greens are fast, and if you're feeling it, if you're feeling decent about your putting at that moment, and you feel comfort in those greens or at a place, then you're not worried about necessarily the speed, right? I think they're running 12 in the stimp meter, and
always
you're
fast.
That's extremely fast. And if you're not willing to be a little bit more aggressive and play a little bit straighter as opposed to more break, then that can ruin you. And with Hideki, with his ball flight, with his ability to create a lot of spin, and then when he can putt on these greens that have a mixture of like every single turf, then it translates. And look, it's not just the robotic guys, right? Like the Webb Simpsons of the world and the Hidekis. Bubba Watson is like 8th in strokes gained total since 2017 here. He's got 2 runner-up finishes, another 3 top 5s. He just hasn't won. But you see guys like him who say, I'm going to hit driver no matter what, which is why I think Finau is better than Louis. I want to hit driver no matter what. The rough is not very penal at all. Get it as close as I can on these fast greens and then putt it from there. So there's many different ways to win this tournament. And let's not forget, before Brooks won, he was 5 back coming into Sunday, and James Hahn was essentially leading this tournament for 2.5 rounds. So look, yes, it feels like one of the top guys are going to win here in the odds. There's so much power and win equity at the top, but it doesn't, we're not removing any of these other guys deeper in odds just because these top guys are here. It's just soaking up all of that win equity. So we're getting better numbers a little bit deeper on the board.
But Reed, Louis has shorter odds than Tony Finau.
Yeah, because a lot of people, smart or otherwise, have been pumping up Louis Oosthuizen. And that's what happens. Look, I think Louis is, like, all joking aside, I think he's a fine play here, right? At 35-1 plus 3,500. Because I don't think there's a course out there that Louis doesn't fit. Which is why, in my opinion, that he hasn't won yet on the PGA Tour. It's alarming. Like we talk about Tony not winning. Louis Oosthuizen has been on tour for 75 years.
I know.
And he hasn't won a single tournament on the PGA Tour. And his game.
That's not true. He's won the Open Championship. That's technically a PGA Tour.
You know what I mean. Stop it.
You know what? Okay.
Stop it. Your propaganda for the show you do is
won the PGA Tour schedule, but he hasn't won. And this was always Tony's thing. Oh, he's won in like Bermuda, and it's not really a tournament. Right? Like Louis is fantastic and he's been great for so long, yet he can't figure out towards the end how to win. Right. And that's what scares me a little bit about Louis, even though every single course, we can go through every single course in the schedule and say this is a Louis course because he putts really well. His irons are fantastic and he drives in the middle of the fairway like every single time.
Jeff, he finished 11th here last year, 3rd in 2017.
Where did Tony finish 2020?
He lost. He didn't win. He finished as the non-winner.
Was that a playoff? Was that a playoff, right?
It was, to Webb Simpson. It broke my heart.
I remember that. I remember you walking around the office with a broken heart.
Yeah, it was true. But yeah, Louis fine. But like I'd honestly rather bet Brooks at 35. I'd rather bet DB, Daniel Berger, at 25, even with a bad back.
I don't mind Berger this week either. I think that I know there was some – he pulled out last week to a precautionary. I just think he kind of just wanted a week off. And
it's fine.
Again, you're picking between Pebble and this event. I mean, honestly, like Pebble's cool, but it's a
6-hour rounds. No, thank you.
Yeah, this event is better. So I'm not really shocked there. Berger's got a great record. I think he's actually good value there when you compare him to some of the other top players. I'll read out the Louis stat right now. I just tweeted it out, but here it is.
Yeah, this is the one that you just retweeted.
Here it is. Louis Oosthuizen is from Justin Ray, at Justin Ray Golf on Twitter. Louis Oosthuizen making his first start of 2022 this year. He's finished 3rd in T11 and 2 starts at Phoenix Open. In his first start of the year worldwide since 2009. So his first calendar start of the year. Here's his record: 13 starts, 4 wins, and 9 top 10s. He'll hit the ground running here, folks.
How many of those have been on U.S. soil?
Maybe he just hasn't started in the U.S., Reed, and that's the problem.
True.
You ever think about that?
Okay. No, yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I don't mind that.
Another thing, in all seriousness, here's another thing that I would actually watch for. There's a lot of people who played in Saudi Arabia last week. I absolutely hate it when the PGA guys go there and then come back to play for an event exactly the next week. It rarely works out. It rarely works out for those guys. So if we're being honest, I have much more concern about those guys than I do about Usti making his first start of the year. I think there's way more reasons to be fine with a guy making his first start who's been well rested versus players coming in from overseas. We see this happen all the time. They used to do it at the Farmers play in Dubai and then come over. And like 80% of the guys have missed the cut. They just be terrible. And I don't know. We'll see if that trend continues. But I really don't like the guys coming over from Saudi Arabia this week at all.
Who is like your best bet for this tournament this week, Jeff?
I mean, I like Scheffler. I think everybody on the planet likes Scheffler, and his number was close to like plus 3,000 at the start of the week. I think it's down to plus 2,200 now on the draft.
It is. Yep. Yes.
So, yeah.
He is.
I don't really love him at that price. Like I think Berger is the better bet, but if you got him at plus 3,000, great. I don't know. I still like him. I certainly like him for DFS where he's 9,100. I think he's just a player who gels well with this course. He was really hitting his irons well at the Farmers too. He just didn't putt, and he putted really well here last year. I think he gained 5 strokes putting. So I think Scheffler have a good week. Again, I don't think there's much like juice you're getting in that number there at plus 2,200, but That's fine. I think going down, I mean, obviously I'm, Usti, I wish the number was a little bit bigger on DraftKings as well, but he was plus 4,000 to start the week. Now he's down to, I think, plus 3,500. Is that right? So, the numbers aren't as good as they were at the start of the week, but I like both those players and I like Berger. I think of those three guys, like Berger's probably got the best number right now, but those are the three guys I'm targeting at the top. Like I said, though, this is a week where, Hideki's down to plus 1,200 now is what I'm saying. That's pretty short. You could still take like Xander at plus 2,000. We don't see that very often. There's definitely like a couple guys who a little bit bigger this week. And I know, like Reed said, Brooks at plus 3,500. I'm not there. I just don't think it's going to happen again this year, but that is a really good number that you don't see on Brooks Koepka very often in a non-major. So in any tournament, really. Yeah,
it seems like you're getting some pretty modest odds on him there, Fowler. But you got to think Scheffler, after watching like Luke List and then Hoagie win their first career ones, you got to think like Scheffler is maybe a little more motivated to get it done this week. And he does said earlier this week, I think it suits my game well, talking about the course, especially when I'm driving good. And in terms of the greens getting a little firmer as the week goes on, it says he hits it pretty high, so he's not like too concerned about that. But who would you be backing? Like one of your best bets? You got a couple guys you're targeting?
Yeah, Scheffler is he was someone that I wrote up as well.
Cool.
And if you just take a look at his finishes last year in these high strength of field events like majors, the Memorial, I mean, they're stellar. It's fantastic. I mean, he's top 25th and 20th in his last two events. And then he goes on at the Open Championship 8th, US Open 7th, PGA 8th, Memorial 3rd, and the Masters, he was 18th. I mean, and like Genesis, he was 20th. And the Waste Management last year, he was 7th. Like this guy, like when you see all of those numbers, right? Like imagine, like what's that? I forget that actor's name. I can't believe it's eluding me. Like the GIF where he's like all the numbers in Hangover.
Oh, Zach Galifianakis or whatever.
Galifianakis.
Yeah. It's like when you see all those numbers happening, like it's bound to happen. It's just when, right? Can you get a good number? I would hate to be the person that says, well, 30 is not great compared to 22, and then he wins, right? Like 22 is not great compared to 30, but it's better than 0, right? So that's always what you have to like, if you like someone, right? If you really like someone, look, when you talk about value, it's mostly against the other guys on the board. And that's why I think Jeff was saying, hey, look, Berger, Scheffler, Schauffele are a little bit better if you want to do that. And I totally agree. But here's someone that I want to get your guys' thoughts on, because obviously Finau at plus 4,000. I like Bubba, even though he's coming over from Saudi, because he's played so well here. So I think that's something that I just want to be in on if he does. But Seamus Power at plus 4,000.
Ooh.
And maybe not necessarily a bet, but maybe more on DFS. Is look at what we've seen over the last 3 weeks, right? Of guys who have played well that didn't win or didn't close it for whatever reason. And the following, Tom Hoagie is a perfect example, right? He finished second, and then 2 weeks later, he wins a tournament, right? These things like Luke List was playing well, and then he comes in and he wins a tournament. Seamus, even though he played god awful on the weekend, at Pebble Beach, he was still top 10 in approach. His first 2 rounds were like record setting in terms of his approach. He just lost whatever that spark was a little bit on Saturday and Sunday. But when you're talking about golf or anything, it doesn't just turn off. It's like you have these skills one tournament, and then the following week, they just go away. They're not like you and I, and like we just don't know what we're doing from week to week.
No, momentum's a thing with these guys.
Oh yeah, so maybe more so on DFS, but Seamus Power is someone that I'm interested in because I think most people are going to look at that and be like, oh, he can't close.
Yeah,
like he's not someone who can close, and therefore, like I'm not going to play him. And Corey Connors has been talked up, Adam Scott has been talked up. Abe Answer has been talked up, even Horschel to an extent. And where does Seamus land? Right at that 8,400 number for DFS. So he's someone that I'm interested in. But yeah, I'm in on Scheffler, Bubba Watson. I think Finau at plus 4,000 is criminal. So absolutely, that's a check. And then Keith Mitchell. I know Jeff is a Keith Mitchell fan, maybe more so Aaron Wise, but I think those two guys from a deeper odds are also to take a look at.
Jeff, going off of what Reed just mentioned, like some people look at Power as obviously a guy who can't really close, had that 5-shot lead after 36 holes last week. And is that when you would look at, because you can't ignore how consistent he has been, like his consistent performance, like you can't really overlook that. So maybe you look at some of these guys though as more of a rock solid, like top 5, top 10 bet. Like Power could be like plus, I think you're getting like plus 380 for a top 10 finish for a guy who's ended up in the top 15 in 7 of his last 8 starts and is third in the field in par 4 scoring.
I mean, look, Seamus Power's on an incredible run. I can't bet Seamus Power plus 4,000, like especially in this field. You know, maybe last week against that field, I could have got taught to him at that number, but like we're betting him in front of Adam Scott, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Abe Answer, Wise. Like, well, Abe's I don't know, man. I just cannot push myself to do it. He is playing good. And like Reed's right. It's a good point. You know, he was in it and he was out, and much like Hoagie. And I do feel like Seamus Power is probably going to grab another win. I mean, he did grab a win last year at the Barbasol, but he has been, you know, on a surge. It's good to see. I just can't. I could not click Seamus Power at these prices in this field, anyways. I don't know. Maybe that'll be the end of me. If Seamus Power beats me, Seamus Power beats me. But I feel like with all these names starting to show up, like Abe Answer at plus 5,500. When's the last time we got him? I know he played in Saudi Arabia, so he kind of fits my fade narrative. But like that's a big price for him these days. I like Fitzpatrick too. I mean, he's a good Bermuda putter. There's really no reason why he can't, you know, spark up here. It's a player we've seen compete lots of times, had some really good finishes in majors. Again, like him being bigger in the odds than Seamus Power, I think there's a couple players you can attack in this range and add on. Like if you like a couple of guys we talked about already, you should be looking at this range like plus 5,000 because Adam Scott, Fitzpatrick, Answer, you're getting better prices on those guys than you should be. And I like Reed's mention of Keith Mitchell too. That dude's playing really well. He's really picked up his putting over the last year. And if that guy putts, I mean, the rest of his game is good enough to win tournaments. So, well, I'm glad you mentioned Fitzpatrick too, because he's one of the best drivers in this field. And if you look at some of the past champions here, Reed, like that's been a common thread among some of those guys like at this event. I mean, he doesn't hit it long, but he does hit fairways.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Absolutely. Long hitters could definitely get an advantage on those ones, which we've seen with like Brooks and some of those other guys. You can just kind of like hammer away. But any closing thoughts on this tournament, whether TFS or betting, Reed? Because we got a little less than 20 minutes ago. I want to hit on some Super Bowl stuff.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you're feeling safe and up to it, then this is a tournament in the future that needs to be on the bucket list.
Yeah,
I know Jeff's going to make his way at some point in the future, and you and I are going to make our way at some point in the future, because golf in itself is not just about like the, you know, hoity-toity, you know, nose up.
Yeah,
this is a different style of tournament, and you know, for like you mentioned, for you watching it, to bet on it, everything, make sure you make your way down there, because they've also done a really good job of the course being one that guys like, look, you can have all of the hoopla, but if the course is not like good for the guys to play, they're not going to play it. And so you got to give it up for the greenskeepers of making sure that this course is something that you're playing. And we don't see like runaway wins either. We always get some drama.
No, the winner's always between 17 and 19 under par. It's always close. We've had lots of playoffs here. It's to me, it's easily like a top 5, probably a top 3 setup on the PGA. I don't know why more tournaments. I don't know why the PGA doesn't take this model. And I'm not saying you have to have a party atmosphere at every week, but make some kind of stadium, make some kind of feature hole where there's something unique. You build around it, and maybe even copy the layout a little bit. Say, hey, look, next tournament that's hosting
TPC
the Byron
Sawgrass
Nelson.
did it. Yeah.
You know? TPC Sawgrass is another great example. Exactly. More of that. I mean, more of this. TPC Sawgrass is another great course and venue as well. So anyways, definitely agree with that last sentiment.
Like it also needs to be great for, like Reed, you mentioned, just if these guys like want to play it, like a good track. But it also, in my opinion, needs to be good for spectators, like easy to kind of like get around and bounce around. That, in my opinion, is what makes TPC Sawgrass like so great. Stadium course, you can get really great views. And you've been out there, Reed, like, you know what I'm talking about. But Eamon, our producer, was asking like best non-major to attend, like this tournament. And I'm thinking, man, for atmosphere, it'd be really tough to beat it. Like you go out to TPC Sawgrass, it's like Friday, huge party day, like out there, especially around 17.
Yeah, Sawgrass is, I mean, it's called the stadium course for a reason.
Yep.
Right. It was specifically made for that, spectating. Yep. And then obviously, like Jeff was talking about, like they're catering a lot to that, right? Is that amphitheater type of feel where you can feel like it's just you in this hole. And I think every course. So that one, I know, like if you're like a golf purist, you want to go to the Florida swing courses because those are fairly tough. But then like you're kind of seeing guys struggle. So I don't know if that's your bag of tea. But I think this one, any of the ones on the West Coast, Torrey, Pebble Beach, for you to be there, is something else. Everyone says that it's heaven on earth to be on those locations. But when you're talking about golf mixed with like the experience, I would have to go Sawgrass, the players, or here for sure.
I'm still so bummed like we're not out there this year with like a first year having like a physical
I got some information though. I'll tell you guys after the stream.
Okay, I'm excited for that. Hopefully it has something to do with maybe next year because we know the Super Bowl. Hey, we know the Super Bowl and this tournament are in the same town. Hey, Arizona. Hey, we're coming. We're going to be flying down and we get to hug our sweet, pale Canadian for the first time with you and your tube socks and your Crocs. I cannot wait for it, Jeff. You need to make sure you have like your 50 SPF because your little body it's going to become nice and crispy and toast real quick.
All factual.
True. Emerson and I come from sun-filled states, so it's true. I'm sorry. I'd like to be on your side for this one, but
hey, LA, pretty sun-filled as well, gentlemen. That's gonna be rocking this week because Super Bowl here. It's bittersweet. Obviously, we all love the Super Bowl. We love eating and all that jazz, but man, it's the last football game of the year. Sweet Tea Fowler. So let's kind of get right to it here. And if you guys have other bets, you want to take this in another direction, feel free to do it. I was going to come out just real simple right off the top and talk about this spread because is it still 4.5 points?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So 4.5 points, like the Bengals feel like this team of destiny, Reed. Are you buying them in the points as of Tuesday afternoon? We had this stat, and I don't know how much it's changed today, but we had this stat on the sweat this morning. As Tuesday afternoon, 54% of the public handled, 62% of the bets were on Cincinnati to cover.
Yeah, I think if you're going with the spread, that 4.5, I think Cincinnati is the right side. This is a pretty sharp number in terms of 4.5. Like there's no leverage you're going to get on the spread. Like this is a Super Bowl. Like the algorithms are already very mature by like week 8, week 9. So trying to find an edge in the spread is a fool's errand. So I do think that Cincinnati at plus 4.5. And here's the reason why. I mean, my favorite is moneyline Rams at minus 200 of these sort of normal bets, right? Is we see the Rams get up early because they kind of put their gas on the pedal and if Sean McVay doesn't waste time running the ball on first downs for more than like half a quarter, then I do think the Rams get up early. And I think with the Bengals, they're going to struggle a little bit because they're a little younger. Zach Taylor this is his first time. So I think there's going to be some jitters. But having said that, look what the Rams do in the second half. They take their foot off the gas. They run the ball and they're like two-dimensional. And then teams come back. We've seen it all the time. So I do think that Cincinnati has the willpower, has the strength on their offense to come back, which is why I like this plus 4.5 number. And on top of that, you take a look at just both of these coaches. They just don't necessarily give me great vibes that one or the other are going to break away from this line. I think it's going to be a close game. So I like the point with Cincinnati right now, plus 4.5. But
finish your thought. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say Rams money line.
Go ahead, Jeff.
No, it's perfect segue. I agree with pretty much everything Reed said. And he said it perfectly. So I'm not even going to like repeat the things, saying the way he laid out the Rams is perfect. They're a team who's talented enough to get up. They're not good enough to shut teams down. They don't have a good run game. The Bengals execute better. And they do have that guy under pressure, Joe Burrow, who's got such a good passer rating. So that's a great point. It's why I love the Bengals at plus 4.5 too. But there's a great bet here and we're going to find it. It's here. It's this game to finish at under 8.5 points, the spread, no matter who wins, under 8.5 points. So you can bet that on the DraftKings Sportsbook, and we're going to find it. I don't know where it is, but it's here. I found it yesterday, and I can't find it now. But if there is a bet that says, the game will finish within 8.5 points. So anything under 8, you win the bet. I love that bet. Probably one of my favorite props to get in. And again, we'll find it. It's there. It's like game specials or something.
Yeah.
So,
the amount of bets, I'll say this.
Game specials. Okay. It's under Super Bowl specials and then go to game specials. There it is. I found it. It's at the bottom. Super Bowl 56 winning margin under 8.5 points, minus 110. Either
The
team
amount
can
of-
win. The game just has to be within 8 points. Love it. That's my favorite bet.
Like I think right now the Bengals are this darling team, right? And I think that's a big reason why they're popular with the public right now. We've seen a lot of similar like postseason stories over the past like decade plus, Reed, like 2008, 2011 New York Giants catching fire at the right time, 2012 Baltimore Ravens. Like Joe Burrow right now is playing with the utmost confidence. Jamar Chase just looks unstoppable. He's got 100 yards or a touchdown in like every playoff game in his first season, in the National Football League here. So like it doesn't shock me a whole lot. Like the public's like buying into this, but when it comes to the total, like it seems a little low for like the modern day, like Super Bowl, like NFL, these two offenses. Like, does it not?
Yes and no. I think the perception of both of these teams is that they're high powered on offense because we've seen both of them perform well in prime time, putting up a lot of points. Having said that, look, there's two ways to do this. If you like the over, bet it now, right? Or last week, because this number is going to get up probably to around 50.5 is my opinion, is my guess. If you like the under, which is what I do, I'm going to wait till Sunday. I want to bet the under. Because the big thing that scares me about what you just mentioned, Emerson, is that if Burrow isn't doing what he did against Kansas City, where he eluded every single QB hurry, he rushed for 20 plus yards, he was amazing in the second half, then he's going to be under duress a lot. QB hurries might be at an all-time high for Joe Burrow on Sunday. And that scares me into making sure that you're pressing the envelope forward and he has enough time to get the ball out. If these screens to Jamar Chase or to T. Higgins don't necessarily work every single time, then getting that score up and up and up and up is a little bit tough. That's why it kind of feels like, and I mentioned on the sweat, it feels like a little bit of, it's going to play like that Tennessee game a little bit with the defensive line and offensive line, but then the score and the whole dynamic of the game feels like more Tampa Bay and the Rams, which is like they got up early and then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers came back late. But it was still under 45 or whatever it was. That's kind of how it feels to me right now, because even though both of these teams aren't going to blitz a ton, you're going to see Burrow just under pressure quite a bit. And if he doesn't have his magic beans a la Jordan Spieth, which, by the way, I was calling that time where he hit that ball on the cliff and it was, my palms were sweating. It was crazy.
Mine was sweaty, just like watching the replay over and over.
I do like the under, but if you like the over, like you're mentioning, Emerson, then do it now because this number is going to increase as we get closer to Sunday.
Okay. Because interesting stat here, Jeff, when the total has been set, we're talking the past 15 Super Bowls. So when the total has been set between 45 and 50, the over is sitting at 6-2.
Right. It's an interesting stat. I mean, I think that, and I talked about the total, I think it was on Monday, and I do kind of lean over here. What we see with most Super Bowls, and I think what we would have seen if this was like Mahomes, even if this was just Mahomes versus Stafford, when you get those two like sort of more elite teams facing each other, like if this has been like Green Bay and Kansas City, people they get in this mindset. It's like, oh, it's impossible. You can't take the under versus Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes. They've never been held to like under 30 points in their lives, which is of course a complete like fallacy. It's just how people think. But you haven't seen that this week because it's the Bengals and the Rams. It's really two teams that people weren't expecting to be here. And people just, think of Joe Burrow and the Bengals. They're not very good. They're probably not going to score many points. And I think you've even seen the total come down this week. So I think people love to bet the over, like they love it. So, and you will see more money on the over, but it hasn't moved the line yet, really. And I think you'll probably see the line finish higher than it is now. But I think that if you're looking at it now, you've got to think like the over is the play at 48.5. I think that this is probably as low as it's going to go. And, the stat you mentioned is correct, but also just the circumstances. I mean, the Rams let people back in games. The Bengals are good at throwing under pressure and executing. I think you'll see some kind of like, maybe 28-24 game. I definitely think that, that's got a high probability of happening. And I just think where the numbers at, it's kind of like the perfect number. So I like the total isn't really my favorite play, but if I'm leaning to the side right now at this number, I'll lean over until it goes up.
I mean, the Rams definitely are very good at letting people back in. Had it not been for Tampa Bay coming back in the second half of that ridiculous contest between the two, all three of their games actually would have the under would have hit in all three of the Rams games. All three of the Bengals games this postseason, the under is hit. But if you kind of take the average points both teams are scoring, then the total is what the projected total is almost 6 points less than that.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite bet that you like when you're looking at the book? Again, there is a bajillion of them. Like even Jeff like really struggled to find his favorite one, but he struggles a lot like when he's on the DK Sportsbook.
Yeah, he has to do the translation and the currency. It's really
poor guy.
And for us, our American odds can sometimes confuse these guys. Like their odds are way more like easy to understand than ours are.
It's because we're smart. We're intellectuals here.
Yeah, metric system, huh? But I actually like Rams money line at minus 200. Just because I do think like this is my preseason pick was the Rams doing the Super Bowl. I'm going to stick with that. I do think the Bengals are a team of destiny. I think they create turnovers on defense and then that gives them extra possessions. And I heard this earlier and I forget where, but Cincinnati, this is like I don't know if this is the first time in history, but it's got to be in like single digits of this happening. Their yards per play, they have been the lesser of the two teams, in their matchup in every playoff game in yards per play on offense. And like they're here and they have one of the worst offensive lines and they're here, right? So if you're backing the Bengals, you have to throw all those stats out the window and say the Bengals are going to win this in spite of what they've been doing. And I don't necessarily think that way. I think you run into a lot of issues when you're thinking emotionally when looking at these things. And so I do like the Rams money line and Evan McPherson or Cincinnati over 1.5 field goals at minus 120.
Dude, I love that. And that takes me to my next point. Like I heard Jules mention this morning on the Sweat and I said, wow, that's crazy. Talking about the opening kickoff to be a touchback. Like
that is crazy.
18 of the last 20 have not been a touchback, talking opening kickoff. And you get like plus money on that right now. And that was backed up by Pat McAfee, who was kicked in a Super Bowl before, because a lot of these times in his explanation on his show on Sirius XM was that these kickers usually mess with the footballs for about 30 minutes in front of an NFL official. You can scuff it up a little bit. This one is literally taken out of the box, put right like on the tee. And then you combine that with maybe some nerves in a Super Bowl. Like, I don't know, no touchback on the opening kickoff, currently paying out that plus like 105 or 110. Here it is. Plus 110. Like, okay. And anytime you can get a bet that hits like at a 90% clip for like plus money, that just seems like a pretty rock solid bet.
It's not like a Pro V1 that you're putting on there. Like,
no,
same feeling, right?
No, and I'm putting a fresh Pro V1 on the tee box, like on my tee.
Sending it to the woods directly.
Every other, like just an absolute pistol whip into the trees.
Scuff mine up and really just talk to it before, get it warmed up. Get it ready for the round.
Yeah. We've seen you out there in your golf attire, bud. Ulrich, we got a couple minutes left. Is there anything else like you want to point out? I guess yes. Go ahead.
I got a prop I got to talk about. So there's you go to the cross sport specials.
Ooh, I love this.
It's almost at the very end.
Okay.
It's okay. I better get there myself since I'm talking.
All right, I'm there. What do you have?
It's plus 160. It's a second bet down. It's what will be more, Jason Tatum threes made or LA Rams total touchdowns. You can get Jason Tatum threes made plus 160. Tatum is averaging 9 3-pointer attempts, over his last 10 games. Now he's not been very efficient in making them, but the dude is chucking. He chucks like 9 threes every game. And if he has a decent night, if he just has a season average, he's going to make 3-pointers.
Okay.
Like you'll need 4 touchdowns from the Rams to win at minus 200. This line is out of whack. It's out of whack. And also just to add on that, Tatum is playing the Hawks, the Atlanta Hawks on Sunday. They're one of the worst defensive teams in basketball. They play at a super high pace. I think they've allowed the 5th most 3-pointers in the league. This is way out of whack. This should be like even money. Tatum plus 160. This is probably my favorite bet. I'm not kidding.
So
take this one. There's
Really
so many
quick,
ways
Jeff?
you can win. He could make like 1 3-pointer and the Rams can make like 4 field goals and lose the game, or you can make like 2 and they make, you don't even need a good game from Jason Tatum to win this. But if he makes you 5, you're pretty much set. So
Do you think there's one like I talked about earlier on the show that Jordan Spieth birdies or Matt Stafford rushing yards? And I
like going under on the Stafford rushing yards this week. What was it like in one round, Jordan Spieth birdie?
Yeah, just the first round. Like the thing
first
about
round.
the Bengals, they've given up like double-digit rushing yards the
Where
last
is
3
that one?
quarterbacks.
Dude,
It's in,
that's
like,
on
the
that's on the
cross
golf.
PBA.
It's on the golf one.
Oh yeah, there it
my
is.
God.
Golf. Okay.
So there's
actually-
Cantlay, there's like
yeah.
Cantlay birdies, first round only, Cantlay birdies or OBJ receptions. I like the OBJ receptions in that one. But the Spieth one with Stafford rushing yards, like Cincinnati has given up double-digit rushing yards to the opposing quarterback every single like playoff game. Stafford has shown the propensity to run when he can't find someone because he's not going to want to throw an interception in the biggest game of his life. If he gets to 10, Jeff, if we get a little scramble and he gets 10 yards, there is no way Spieth is making 10 birdies.
No. All right. But then what about, will there be more John Rahm birdies in round 1 or
Yeah, that's
Super
what's
Bowl
up.
56 total touchdowns? Like
Yeah.
you talked about how much this dude is motivated to win
Yeah.
this tournament in his backyard. Oh man, give me more
I'm not
John
betting
Rahm
against
birdies in
Rahm.
round 1.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Like you get him for plus 150 odds right now, plus money.
Yeah,
baby.
I mean,
lose
John Rahm-
yourself in the amount of bets you can make this weekend. So just be careful, everybody.
That's
Oh, I
pretty
know.
good odds too, though. At plus 150. I mean, even if
Yep.
Rahm makes you 5 birdies, let's say he has that's a bad day for him, by the way. If he makes 5 birdies, like you're still live to win that bet.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if he goes out and shoots 64, I mean, like, oh man, yeah.
Especially if you're thinking this game, like if you're feeling the under on this game, like I don't
Yeah.
know, Rahm can go out there and make six birdies.
And both
round
these
one.
teams, I'll throw it out, like they're pretty high in the field goal attempt category. So yeah.
Although Matt Gay is injured still, I'd be like McPherson is probably going to have the longest field goal, so that's another one.
Dude.
But yeah, we know McPherson is going out there more times than not because Zach Taylor loves the guy and he's a stud.
Okay. All right. We gotta get out of here. But Jeff, total goals in the NHL on Sunday, or first half total points in the Super Bowl. What will be more?
How much? Well, we got to look at the games. I don't know.
I don't have it in front of. I don't have it in front of me.
I
I just thought you were this NHL expert and you had the entire season schedule memorized. So it's the only one that they have there between the
There
cross
is
sport bets for NHL.
4 games.
Okay. All right. Just tweet Jeff if you're curious about that.
Yeah, I'll get back to you on that on Monday when the game is
And
over.
Cooper Cup MVP. I like that
Ooh.
one a lot.
Okay.
I don't think
Man.
I'd do that. I think I'd actually go with the NFL
Points.
side on that. Again,
Okay.
plus money too.
There's been only 3 non-quarterbacks of the past 10 years, which one of them is on the Rams right now, Von Miller. Okay, we got to take off. You guys were tremendous. This was awesome. Thanks everyone for putting up with us. Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, TP. Safe travels up to LA. Amen. Love you. We'll see all you guys and gals back here next Wednesday, and we'll recap an incredible week.
And my second place again.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, whoever Reed says wins, bet for top 5 because his guys finished second like 3 weeks in a row. All right, much love, everybody. See ya.